Hello guys, it is Teenage Marvel Fan back with another video, and I'm sorry that I haven't been uploading Cloak and Dagger reviews lately. I'm like 6 episodes behind. I haven't been able to watch this show lately, so I'm kind of like trying to catch up right now. I didn't do a review for the last episode because I did watch that like weeks ago, so I don't really remember too much of what happened. But yeah, so I knew that I had to get these watched, and I had to get back into reviewing them. So here you go. This is the review for Rabbit Hole, and there's two main storylines for this episode. I'm going to start off by talking about Tyrone. So basically he gets a call from O'Reilly, and he finds out that there's some gang members that are looking for him, and they know his address. So they're going to his house, and that's where his mother is. And he hasn't seen his family in months because, he's been on the run from the police. So he uses his powers to go to his house, which he hasn't been to in a while, and then he sees his mother there. And of course they have that happy reuniting moment because, they haven't seen each other in a while. But then he tells her what's happening, and then the gang members show up, and he tries to use his powers, but they don't work, and I'll explain that in a little bit after I finish up talking about Tyrone. So then she has a bunch of papers that she has to hide and like put away so that nobody can find them. And then they go out the back door or window or something like that, and then they end up escaping. And then they find a car that's unlocked, and she's able to hotwire it because for some reason she knows how to hotwire a car, which, is useful, I guess, but just don't know why she would know how to do that. But it's kind of cool because now they can escape. That's what they did. And then they drive until they get stopped by police, and then they have to run from them. But then they get on this bus, and then somebody on the bus is working for that gang, so they spot them. So then they have to run, and then Tyrone takes her to some kind of building, and he says that it's haunted by vampire nuns. And then once they get inside, he explains the whole story. But then somebody knocks down the door, and it's that gang member that was on the bus and got a gun pointed at them. And then Tyrone basically convinces him not to shoot them, which is also useful. Like, imagine being in a situation like that, and then having being brave enough to do that, especially not knowing if it would actually work. But it worked. And then the rest of the gang showed up, so they were outside. But then he made a deal with the guy that he just stopped from shooting him. And then that guy went to tell the rest of the gang that the police were on their way so that they would leave. So then they left, but then the police actually did show up, and then O'Reilly came inside first because the other cops told her that she had 60 seconds alone with him, and then Tyrone had a plan. So basically, O'Reilly was going to take his mother outside so that she would be safe with the cops, and then he was just going to let the cops come in and arrest him because, he's innocent and stuff, and he didn't actually kill Connors. So then they come in, but then he decides to hide because he's having second thoughts, but his powers aren't working. But then as he's hiding, all of a sudden, he gets transported back into the church where he and Tandy live. And then I'll explain that more after I finish talking about Tandy, which I'm about to talk about. So, at the beginning of the episode, she goes inside of Tyrone. He basically, opens up his, basically a portal to another dimension, kind of. and that's where Connors would be, and Mayhem got stuck in there in the last episode. I don't really remember that happening, but apparently it did happen. Um, so Tandy has to go get her out of there so Mayhem can help her. So then she goes inside, and that's where she is for the whole episode. So she first gets inside, and she finds a gas station, and it's called Roxxon Gas. So she's like, oh, of course it's about Roxxon. And then she sees young Tyrone, and then he's he says that he's not young Tyrone. I don't really remember what he said his name was, but for the rest of the episode, Mayhem and Tandy are calling him Papa Mystery, which is kind of weird, and also very dirty at the same time. Like calling a little kid Papa. Um, yeah. If you don't understand that joke or reference, then good for you. You don't have a dirty mind. Um, but that's the problem with being in middle school. You can't avoid having a dirty mind. But anyway, so then he shows her that she needs to stick one of her daggers in this thing. It's like one of those things where you would stick a quarter in, and then they're kind of like binoculars, and you can use it to look at something. So she has to stick her dagger in there. So then she makes a deal that she won't use her powers for the rest of the time that she's in there. And then after that, a coin pops out, and on one side there's a dagger, one of her daggers, or like a picture of it, and then on the other side there's a picture of a cloak, which would be the symbol for Tyrone. So then she keeps going, and then she finds this mall, which is where Mayhem is, and then they find a map, and basically where they need to go, it's like all blocked off by mirrors, but there's nothing in the mirrors. Like when you look in a mirror, usually you would see your reflection, but Mayhem never sees that. But then Tandy walks in front of the mirror, and then she sees like 4 or 5 different versions of herself in the mirror, and then she kind of just walks toward one, and then they're just automatically transported inside, I guess. And then they're walking around a little bit, and they find this record store. Then they go inside, and all the records, they have pictures of girls on them, and then the like section dividers have names on them. So then they realize that those are all the girls that went missing and that were kidnapped. But then on one section, you see it says Tandy Bowen, which of course is Tandy. So then they start looking at the records, and they notice that 3 of them are in wrapping, like packaging, and the others are not. So then they decide to take those out of the packaging, and then they start to play one. And then they turn around, and then it's basically just like playing memories. So the first one, you see Tandy as a little girl, and all of these show her as a little girl, but she's like in bed, and then her parents are like saying goodnight to her and stuff, and I think they're arguing a little bit. Then they start to play the next one, and in this next one, it shows Tandy on a couch or in bed or something, and she's listening to music and she's coloring. Not really too much there. I think she does hear her parents arguing again. And then in the third one, she is getting ready for school, maybe, but she's getting ready to leave the house. But then her mom has to run back and get something that she forgot. And then there's more arguing and fighting with her parents. So then she decides to just walk out the front door. And so basically, these records show the arguing between her parents and show the division with their family. And obviously, this makes Tandy mad. So she just like grabs the record and smashes it on the ground. But then after she does that, she's like, alright, let's get out of here. But then she realizes that Mayhem's not there anymore. So she has to find her. So then she starts looking around, and then she finds Mayhem, and Mayhem found Connors. Um, she's trying to hang him, but Tandy needs him alive because that could clear Tyrone's name, and then he could go back to his normal life. So, Tandy ends up fighting, Mayhem, but then she ends up using her powers, so she breaks the rules. And because she broke the rules, she basically gets kicked out of there. And that is why, Tyrone got transported back to the church, because she broke the rules. So then he was transported back there, and she was transported back there as well. And I don't think Mayhem was, but they're like super confused. And then they turn around, and Connors is there, and then he just like jumps through the window. So now Connors is on the loose. And yeah, that is pretty much where the episode ends, I think. Yeah, so now we have to see whether or not Mayhem got out of there, and if she didn't, how are they gonna get her out? We have to wait and find out uh, where they're going with the whole Connors thing, because I thought after last season that we wouldn't see him again, but apparently we are. But yeah, so let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video, so I can bestow all my Marvel knowledge upon you.